Yeah. So actually, we've been discussing about a lot of things in Tableau till now. Ravi, I think just to let you know that I mean we've covered most of the things like the table calculations and then the different types of charts and like graphs that you can create, and then the formatting stuff, and then and a few of the things like the trend lines and how can you create a reference line and all those things that we have covered already, and also we have the recorded sessions, I think, that which you can go through at when you find some time. So I think what I will do today is, I'll just go through whatever we had discussed yesterday in the last class, so that we can, I'll just go through that, and then I think Trinath and has actually downloaded and has been trying something, so we can just discuss if he has any questions, and meanwhile even you can ask some questions if you have. So we'll discuss that, and then I'll carry on with some more things that I was planning to cover today. I hope that sounds okay. So what we discussed yesterday was there's something called this is a new feature that's been like that were introduced in Tableau 8, and that's called forecasting. And what is exactly forecasting? Forecasting is based on whatever the information that we have on our sales or profit or something of that kind. This could be actually forecasted into the future. I mean, how would my sales like how would my sales be, or how would my profits be, the next 12 months or 13 months, and all these kinds of forecasts can be done using Tableau without really having to write any code or something for ourselves. I mean, by ourselves, Tableau does the forecasting for us, and it basically looks at we saw the different types of like models that it creates. It can actually do a you can set the model up, to either take into consideration the trends, or I mean, I'll just show it to you as I'm speaking. So yep, right here. So I'll just show this. This is actually the trend that is there with the current data that we have, and then this is the forecast what Tableau provides us, and we can have these options wherein we can specify with the how the trend model has. I mean, the forecast model has to be. Should it consider the trend and seasonality, or just without trends or seasonality, or just consider one of those, or nothing at all. So these are the options that Tableau provides us to create actually the predictive. This forms a part of kind of a predictive analysis, wherein this is a simple forecasting capability which Tableau 8 provides us with. So this is still very elementary, it's pretty simple. And if there's anybody looking at creating some really sophisticated predictive stuff, we would actually have to use something more suited for the predictive analysis kind of a scenario. So this is basic forecasting which Tableau would provide. And then also we looked at these simple things like the drop lines and things like that, which will actually, when we having the scatter plot, this will actually give us the right. This will give us the right. Just I mean, marks about where the marks are lying and what are the specific points at which these are lying. So just to make your plots more clear. And then we saw the summary card, which Tableau provides us, so that you can, whenever you're doing something, either when you're developing or something, so you want to have these things handy, so that you can just make sure that what you're looking at, is what you're expecting to see, that the count and the sum and basic summary of whatever you're including within the view is being displayed as a summary card. And then we saw how we can actually, once we have built the worksheet, how we can simply go out and describe the sheet from the analysis window, and it will give us all the from the worksheet menu actually. So it just gives us all the details about what things are included in the view, and then if you have any trend lines, it will give us the trend model, and so that you can actually share it with somebody who is interested in understanding what view you have built, or somebody who wants to test the view, or get just get more information about the view. And then we also discussed about these annotations and marks, different types of annotations that we can do. Annotations are nothing but callouts. So you can actually annotate a particular point, a mark, or an area. So when we say mark, it is the data point. And then we also looked at how we can actually go ahead and use these labels, the mark labels, to make your, sometimes you might want to specify each of the marks that is drawn in your view, or you can use actually you can show only the selected marks and then min, max, and these different things that we can do. And then we just went through the different formatting options that Tableau provides us, so resizing of the cells, or copying and pasting the formats, and then clearing the formats, and then resizing the table, and then each worksheet, how we can either change the fonts and backgrounds and the colors and all those things. And also we just went through briefly some of the various different string functions that Tableau provides us, and then even the date functions. So we were just about to do something, just go through a couple of these, different use calculations wherein you can use a case statement, and if some of the if conditional statements, So I'll just show a case statement that how we can build a case statement. So this is a very simple. Just like any other language, how we write if for a case statement, it is pretty similar to that, and most of the things would be actually given over here when you are trying to create any calculated function. So it just tells us exactly which one you are, whichever you want to do. It just explains how it works and how you can use that. So in a case, it's simple. Whatever is based on this, the value of this this region in this case, this dimension over here, it just aligns the value just to this calculated field. So the name of the calculated field I have given is case_region, and then based on what region it is, it just gives us the assigns it a value. And when you use this in the view, you can see that it is actually just giving us. You can see, west is 1 and east is 2, but then south and central are 3, which is because we have a default, which just goes to 3 else part. This is a basic case statement that we can create, and then we have this if. There are different if conditions that you can write, and then what we've done is we've tried to find out something like a delayed orders. If you want to see which based on some of the info, like either the ship date or the order date, you can find out whether. So this here in this view, what we have done is we have the ship date and we have the order date, just like how we were yesterday. We're trying to do the date diff and all. So we're doing the date diff here, and then we're just finding out whether it is greater than 3, and if it's greater than 3, we are assigning a value yes, and else we are assigning a value no. So this is actually something like you have this if IIF actually tells us it's similar to an if condition, but then you can specify the value here, whatever you're trying to do, whatever test you're trying to do here, and then you have to give the statement in the value that for the true, and then you give the value for the false thing. So then if it is greater than 3, then it's giving yes, and else it's giving no. So that's the what we are doing here. So based on, you can just check this. So if it is greater than 3 days, it marks the order as yes, which means it's a delayed order, or no, it's not a delayed order. And also where you can actually use this is also you can use these as filters, so that if you want to see only one of one type of order, you can just create this here, and then you can say, just show me the delayed order, and not show me everything. So that kind of filters could be used, and by creating these calculated fields. So that is about the if conditions that we have. And then also you have something called if null and string kind of functions. So I have have it here. So I didn't have in the order. I have just created one data sheet here, which is having these values, which says I have month, and then I have the sales against it. So and a couple of months I have null as sales, so that we can just illustrate how the if null works. So if you see here, what I've done is created a calculated field where I'm doing if null sales 0. So what that means is if sales is null, then send 0, else give the value of sales. So the calc underscore sales, it's a calculated field which has got the value of sales. If there is no, if there is value for sales, it will give the value of sales to this calculated field. If the value of sales is null, then it assigns 0 to it. So you can see it here. Now this is a field. So if I just put the sales here, okay, I'll have to increase. This is another example where you will have to increase the number of columns to be displayed, because it is 1. Because it was 6. You see here sales, the month and the sales has got combined. Just increase it. So now you can see. So if I just drag the sales and look at this one here, it's got 2 nulls. And if I drag the sum of calculated sales, then it is, instead of showing null, it is showing 0. Okay. And then we have something called isDate. That isDate is nothing but, you can just check whatever string, you can pass any string to it, and then it will tell you whether it's a date or not. So what I'm just passing the month to it, and it is not exactly a date. So then that's why you would see everything is false over here. But then just for another example, what I've done is created another calculated field, is date today, where I'm doing a to date. Okay, just before that, this is the one I'm using. So I'll show you what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a date add, which means it adds this number to whatever the date time that I'm providing here. So I am using, again, in this example I'm showing because there are lots of different date, number and string functions that we are using, so that it illustrates most of the functions. So here I'm using the date add function where I'm adding 3 days to today. Okay, so when I said date add, here this is the first part, which tells us what's the date part I want to add. So if I had given month over here, it would add 3 months to it. So since I've given day, it adds 3 days to today's date, and then gives a value. And in this, the other calculated field, I am using that field and I'm checking whether it is a date. And you would notice here that I'm using str. That is because isDate accepts only string. So if I don't do that, it will give me an error. And then what that error is date is being called with date time. Did you mean date string? So that means it needs a string. So that's why I'm just converting it into string by doing str, and then I'm passing it to this isDate function. So now isDate would, this column, when I have dragged it here, so this column will always say true, because this is a date field. It's a date. The string that I'm passing it to it is a date. Okay, and this column I have dragged it here. It's a to date. So if you see, it will always by default show us the date and the time. So there is, again, you can go here and do the formatting. You can just change it to whatever format, just like anywhere else you would want to change the format to anything. So it will just give us the month, date, and year. Okay, and then there is another calculated field that I've created which uses this zn function. So I can just show you what that is. So that's also, again, similar to the if null thing, so null if zero kind of a thing, zero if null kind of a thing. So what it does is, if it's null, if any value is null, then it sends 0. Otherwise, it sends the same value, the sales. So this is again a simple. These are again simple calculations that we can use in our in our views. So this just explains all the things that we just saw now, the I if thing and if null or if string kind of logical functions. And then again, there are again this we have this if then else and then if then end or else if and nested ifs and all those things. So this is very similar to any other programming language. So we have all these functions which is there, and you could use them in your views. So I have just simply created a few of the I'm using some of these functions and creating some calculated fields here. So sales. I've just created this field. Okay, so this here it just tells us whether if I'm just checking this is just for illustration. So I'm just checking if the sales is more than $10,000, then it's a good sale, it's a good order, or else it's a bad order. So you can create something like this, and then so mainly you would use it to categorize some of the categorize your data into one or the other, or then filter it based on those values, calculated fields, so that uh, whatever that gives you the users a way to filter the data or to categorize them and then show them, because generally you would have when you have lots and lots of records coming in, so you might want to look at at a particular set and not the whole of it. So you can actually create different filters of this kind. Just different calculated fields based on these kind of conditions, business rules or something, and then use them as filters in your view. Okay. So this is an example for just a simple if then else. Okay. And then also we can create something like if then else if. Yeah. So this one here, it has got this nested if going. So this is similar to the one that we created with the case statement, but then here we just checking if with the if condition. So yeah, you can use this else if and then nest your condition if conditions with more number of conditions, and then finally you have to just end it with one and then all these things, so it is pretty it gives it. So if you are using, it will give you all this syntax how to actually go about it, so it's pretty simple, this if conditions, and also you can do nested, and there's no limit actually to say, for the number of nested ifs that you can have. So you can actually go ahead and create as many as possible. But then just to keep it less complicated, it's better like you might want to restrict it your nesting. So I'm using this. So the other one that I was talking about is just to use this in your view and then create a filter on that. Just you can use it this way. You can say okay, and then you can say show filter, or you can just go to that and just say create show quick filter, and then it automatically does it for us, puts it into columns. So you can, if you want to see only the bad ones, just give me the bad ones and show me all, that kind of thing. Okay. Okay, and now staying with the dates actually. Tableau again. This is like just like any other. Like I think in the first class we discussed about the continuous and the discrete things. So here again, this is an example of how we can create continuous and discrete dates. Dates actually pretty. Yep. So just try to say. So we've been doing this throughout, but then I'll just describe what the difference between what we were doing, what the different ways of doing things. So like here, when I just drag the date, always it goes into this blue pill, which means it is a discrete date, and then we have this sum of sales plotted against discrete date. So what exactly it means is it will give us headers. Which when I say header, and if you can see now the date hierarchy is like year, a quarter, month, and thing, and so on. So now it will be collapsed and it would be at the highest level of the hierarchy. So now you see the year and of the order date. So what do we have dates from 2009 onwards, till 2012. So we have these 4 years, and then it would create these 4 years discretely and plot the sales for that. And since it's a line, so it from there it goes to the next year, and then so on. And similarly, if I split it into quarter, it would do the same. So when I say what's the difference when I say it is I want a continuous. So when I say I want a continuous here, you would see it. What it will do, it will draw this 2000. It will plot the 2009, and then from there, if every month, every quarter from there, it will start. It would have the. It would consider the sales and then plot that also on the graph. So when I have it on the year, it might not be that evident. So I just break it down into like a quarter things, or I okay. Just before that, you can see here. Generally, for date, you will have this segment here. You have this year, month, year, quarter, month, day, and again you have the year, quarter, month, and week number, and all those things. So what you see here on the first section is the discrete date options. So these are called levels. So level changing of basically date levels, and here you have the continuous levels. So you can actually go ahead and let me just change it to a discrete month. So when I say discrete month, you only see the month, and it would have added up all the years. The January month for all the years, sales for the January month, all the years gets added up, and then it plots this. So January for all the Januaries, irrespective of which year it was, for the month of January, this is the sales. So that's what a discrete means. So if I just go ahead and change it to continuous, so you will see every month being plotted right from 2008 till 2012. So this is the basic difference between the discrete date and the continuous date, and this is where you can actually go change the levels that you want to. So if you see here, this says just a year and just quarter. So when we say quarter, it's going to add up for Q1 for all the years. So what was the sales, and then it plots it. When I say a continuous quarter, then it will tell for Q1 how much was the sales for Q1 2012, then Q2 2012, and it plots it that way. So it plots all the for 1 year all the quarters, and then it goes to the next year all the quarters. So this way. So you only see Q1, Q2, Q3 when it's discrete, and then when I change it to continuous, it shows this 3 months here, and then it goes to the next year, 3 months, all the quarters, and then it goes to the next year. So that way. I just want to know, like, is this clear, the distinction between the discrete and continuous? Because it most of the times depends what kind of lines you're trying to draw and what kind of chart you're trying to create. Because it might not show complete information if somebody is looking to see this kind of a chart, and we give them a month or this way. So this might not really communicate the right idea. So we should always know like which one is required by the business, and we provide them the right trend lines and right graphs basically. So this is the major difference between between a continuous date and a discrete date. So similarly, most measures can be discrete and continuous. So I'll just summarize. So what we discussed now was basically the date levels that are available. So you can go till the date, the level of day or more, okay, and this for the discrete, and again for this continuous you have the different date levels, and then again hour you can go from even like more granular than a day and go to a minute, second, and things like that. So that's what here I'm just describing those things in the PPT, so that how to plot this. So this is a year, and then what's the difference between the discrete and the continuous. And this is the continuous thing. Okay. And staying with the dates, if you see, generally what happens is, we have this year and month. We go for quarter here. So we have this year and month, so and generally what happens is, this is a calendar date, so the calendar starts from Jan, and then each calendar, 1 year would start in Jan and end with December. But sometimes you don't, the business would be wanting to see a fiscal date, so and their fiscal year would start from a different date and then end in a different month. So you can actually go ahead and do that, You can say my fiscal year starts from April. Okay, so now the default property would have changed to April, and the fiscal. So if you want to plot just the year, so you would see here automatically it has changed it to fiscal year from a normal year, and then whatever quarter would be plotted, or whatever the other levels also would be plotted that way, at the fiscal date level. Explain once again. So what we were doing was staying with the dates itself, So what I was explaining was that, we have each company would have something called a fiscal year, and the reporting could be on your calendar year, or they might want to see it on the fiscal year. So if their reporting has to be on the fiscal year, what you could do is, you can have for your trend lines or any kind of graphs or charts that include a date, you can actually go ahead and then create this, change the default property of the date, and change the fiscal date here, fiscal start year. So fiscal year start, you can change it from, it will be by default January, so you can change it to any of these months based on the requirement of the business. So if my company's fiscal year starts from April, so then it will you can just set it here, and then you can see that it will group it, and all the groupings and of all the dates would happen based on the fiscal year. So if you see, if I expand it a little further, this would make it pretty clear. So generally, on a calendar year basis, so Q1 would be like a Jan, Feb, March, But if you see here, the Q1 is April, May, June, which is the reason being I have changed the fiscal year to start from April. So this is something that you can actually go ahead and do pretty easily. So just take a couple of mouse clicks, and then you can plot your graphs with the fiscal year based on whatever is the format that is followed in the company. I have this something like a dashboard, So this is like till now, whatever we've been doing it in the sheets. So everything that we've been doing is in the sheet. All the work happens within the sheet, and then dashboard is the final output that we give it to the business. So I will just get started with the dashboards today. So before that, in any of these things that we've discussed now, or if you practice, so we can just, if you have any questions, I can clarify the questions, and then we can then carry on to the dashboards.
Is there any scripting involved in it at all, or just what you're showing right now? I mean,
right. Okay. So what happens with Tableau is most things happen. This is like a purely a drag and drop kind of a tool. Of course,
right.
you can do a lot of scripting as well. That's okay. At an advanced stage wherein you can write JavaScript APIs actually to create a lot of different things. You can embed your view within a website, and then use JavaScript to control the filters and all those things. And also it gives you JavaScript APIs to create some extracts and extract the data and all those things remotely. So those are like, but from a pure development perspective, it is mostly a drag and drop, and then you have this all the functions that I was showing, which is like you go to this create calculated field, and whatever functions that you see here, you can do scripting. Basically, it's just simple conditions and things. And also there is another part probably where one could do some scripting is like this. You have if you're trying to connect to a data, so you can actually create something like this, like Excel, or if you're connecting to a database, any of these databases, right? What it would do is it would allow you to write it would allow you to write sequels on your own. So if you don't want,
Okay.
to just right away connect and select everything from it, you can actually write a custom SQL, and
Okay.
then create a. I mean, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, and later maybe, I mean, you might be covering this actually, but I just wanted towards somewhere in the course, like I wanted to know at a high level, like, what is the overall architecture, like, what are the different pieces kind of there?
I mean, I can actually, I can, like, you're probably looking at something like a scalability and then things like that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, how we can,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, I can do that. What I'll do is, it's probably I can, I can prepare some decks and then run through that. One reason being, and I cannot probably show you the server itself because that's something that's pretty heavy sitting on my system with, and things like that. I mean, I cannot do not the infrastructure wouldn't be available with me for the server, so I can actually.
Okay.
But I mean, I can show you like what the architecture is and how what would you have to do in case you have to scale, and what is the minimum in CPU kind of, and the RAM that you would need, and then how do you identify those things and scalabilities and all that I can run by.
Okay. And also, is there any way we can probably, I mean, I know the server side needs a license, but is there any way we can get some kind of video or something for install configure kind of a stuff? What are the, what are the different options when you install it? And like, how does it connect with what do you call the Active Directories or LDAP? What kind of support we have in those kind of situations?
Yeah, sure. I'll try putting together something of that kind in case of, I mean, it's more from an implementation perspective, right? I mean, in case if you want to
Right. Yeah.
implement, yeah. So I can try
Yeah.
put, I would probably need some time to just put together those things, and then we can I can run it by you, and then you can probably,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So, I think then what I would do is, just go into, okay, this is just fiscal dates again. There's one slide where I've included, which shows like what all you can do, when quarters, you can change, uh, how you can change, and when you change that, what happens for each of the levels. So generally, you would see the change in the year and quarter because that's where the change happens. Because quarters get different months in that based on the fiscal year scale that's getting selected. But then most of the times, the month, year, day itself, they would not have any change much in the behavior. Okay, this is again how to change the fiscal year. Okay, and then this is a dashboard. So when I say a dashboard, it is generally a collection of all the different things that we have put together in a sheet. So you have one sheet, or you could have in a dashboard. You could just have one sheet, or you could have multiple sheets. So it's mostly like this is what is actually presented to the users. So this is the dashboard. When we say Tableau report, what we would actually generally mean is a dashboard. So what I will do is I'll just I can start today. We'll just go ahead and just create one simple dashboard, and then I will show a couple of things, the navigation and all those things, and then we can, and then the next classes probably we can put together new dashboards, and then add some new functionalities and then features to it, and then identify those, find out those different ways of doing things. Okay, so when we say dashboards, what you see here, in these tabs over here at the bottom, one is, this is a sheet. So whenever I click on this, it will give me a new sheet. Okay, so I can delete the sheet and all the different functions. And similarly, if I click here, it will give me a dashboard. So what it's done here is, it's giving me, it's opened a new dashboard for me, just like how it opens a new sheet. But then the difference is, instead of showing me the data source and the measures and dimensions, the data window, basically it's showing me the sheets. So these are the different sheets that we've created, we put together, and now it gives me an option to put these things together into a dashboard. So this white sheet over here, which it's pretty like it's a clear sheet. No, there's nothing on it. So I can actually go and start creating the dashboards by pulling in sheets from here. So again, there are different ways you can pull in the sheet. You can just go drag it into this one, or you can actually you can say right click and then add to sheet, add to dashboard. I'm sorry. So I'll just add a couple of them here. Trend lines, we have created a trend line. So you can drag these things very simply. So you want to have a text table at the bottom, and we created something like a tree map and all those things. So we can just put all those things here. Okay, so this is done. This is as simple as it is actually for to create a dashboard. Once you have the reports ready, you have your sheets ready. But then what is to be noted here is, so we have these different dashboards, but what I mean, it's showing us this information, it's giving us this information. But then what about the interaction? So what Tableau actually does is, it provides pretty easy interactions between these different reports that we have. So generally, what we have to do is, whenever we're building this dashboard, we have to have it would be generally like a 52-week sales dashboard. So in that dashboard, you would have only the related graphs and sheets put together, so that whenever a user is trying to interact, he's actually interacting with between the related sheets that are put in the dashboard. So here, if you see here, I mean, you can also have there are different formatting options that is available here. So first thing that you see is the size of the dashboard here. So it's generally, you can go for something called automatic, which is actually what it will do is, based on your resolution, it goes ahead and decides the size of the dashboard. So when we go for automatic, I might be designing it over my desktop, and then somebody else might be opening it in another device. It might be a pad, or it might be a laptop with a different size of screen. And then you generally, what happens, it does fit. It tries to fit into that size, and you sometimes you would see it getting cramped, or sometimes you would see that it spreads out too much, and then it doesn't look good. So the best practice generally is to go for something which is exact. So you can actually say exactly, and then you can give what size you want it to be, or you can say, I'm designing this for a laptop. Most of my users are laptop users, and this is what it's going to remain. Or you could do for iPad. I mean, I mean, generally when you're designing something for the higher management, the CXOs and things, people like that. So generally they would have a pad with them, and then they would be looking at the reports, these simple dashboards, which are like high-level dashboards. They would be looking at that patch. So we have developed some dashboards which are specifically for iPad. So when we say in Tableau, when we say desktop development or a mobile development, actually there's no difference at all. In terms of the development itself. So whatever we have here, whichever you can do with a mouse over here in a desktop, or a laptop. The same things could be done using the iPad Touch. So you can go ahead, touch this filter. You can go interact with the report, using the touch features. Okay, and and one more reason why it does this, I will explain this probably a little later, as I would just go with the best practices and improving the performance and all those kind of things. But then there's one thing Tableau does is called caching. So that is something that it uses to speed up the rendering of reports. So if you use something of an exact uh, size for a dashboard, you can choose any one of these. But if you choose anything other than automatic and range, and you just give anything that tells, okay, this is my size of the dashboard. When we do that, it generally helps Tableau server to render your reports faster, because there is something called image style caching. So what Tableau does is, each of this that gets rendered here is it would have converted these things, whatever data it gets from the database, it converts finally into images. It will convert them into tiny images, and then it will it would put them on this dashboard here, and then show it to the users. So internally, that is what Tableau does. So whenever we are choosing something that says exact of the size, generally what happens, irrespective of who's opening in what kind of window or what kind of device, it would always show the same size, and the image tile size will also be the same. So when Tableau uses this image caching, it is easily able to do that because the size of the dashboard is same, and then it fits in, because it's something like, I'll explain this. So I'm business user 1, and there might be business user 2 who also wants to look at the same report. So I go in first and I see this report online. Okay, so at that point of time, Tableau would have actually built an image tile cache within the server. So when the business user 2 comes in, logs in, and requests for this report, since the image is already available, it would rapidly show that to him, because even the size is the same, and even the data is same, and everything is same. So that is one way of improving the performance. So generally, it's advisable to go for something which says what is the exact size that you want your dashboard to be. Okay, so that's the thing here. So among the formatting, so the first thing that dashboard is, no. Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I mean, it doesn't from a development perspective, it doesn't matter. But from a server perspective, even for a server, it doesn't matter, because it would be a web-based rendering that the server does. So irrespective of which one I is actually asking for it, it would do its it would do a rendering based on these kind of this kind of they have it has got a certain set of things that it does. The first thing, as I said, is the image style caching and all those different caching technologies that it uses, and it renders the reports. And in case of iPad and Android, it's got the native apps also. So you could use the native app, which then would tell it's the request is coming from the mobile, or you can also use your web browser in your mobile application, in your mobile device, to bring these reports up. So there would not be any difference as such. So it would just be a rendering of a report from the server when from any client. For Tableau, it will be any client that's requesting for the report. Okay. So this is I'll just go section by section. So this dashboard section here, it gives us the size, and then you can actually, again, if you want to specify some specific size that you have in mind, you can do that based on requirements and things like that. And also, this is a simple thing, it shows a title. If you want to give any title, generally by default, each sheet or a dashboard will take whatever is the dashboard title name as a dashboard title. So you can actually call it something like a sales dashboard. So if I call this dashboard the sales dashboard, automatically the name of the title of the dashboard changes automatically, because it's taking this name. So again, this is another simple thing. You can actually go ahead and edit the title. I don't want it to take the sheet name, because generally, it's not necessary that you give exact names for the sheet. Sheets, you might be using some different naming conventions for our convenience, or as per the standards, it might not be the right thing to show on the dashboard. So you can actually knock that off, and then you can say what you want to show. So sales dashboard for the year, or something like that. Whatever you want to show here, you can show, and then that gets shown over here. So that's about this section here, and then we go to something called, when you see here, you have tiled. So what this means is, basically, when we go for a tiled dashboard layout, here you see this horizontal and vertical layout containers. So this is something that comes into picture when we go for a tile layout. So whatever I was dragging and dropping, all that was, even if you see, let me just illustrate that again. I go for a new dashboard here. I can just drag this. When I'm dragging this and dropping it here, and then I drag this again and I drop it, you can see something, a kind of, that's getting like a faded area that gets painted on top of this. So this is nothing but the layout container. So it is telling you that, okay, you can put it horizontally, or you can put it vertically. So that's what's happening here. So you can actually Also, what you can do is, if you want to have if you want to exactly do something of this kind, you can remove this. Remove even before you put anything. You can just drag this horizontal, or let me do this. So I drag the vertical. Um, I've dragged the vertical layout container here, and then I go for a small multiple. Okay. So now you see I have put this one underneath the other. Let me change this size of the dashboard. Make it smaller. Yeah, so 600 actually fits fine. Okay, so now if I want to have something only on top here, I mean, if you see now, I mean, it's only allowing me to, I mean, it's suggesting me, actually not just allowing, but it's just suggesting me to put it here because it is a vertical container that I have. But what I have is a pie chart, and I don't want to put it there. So what I can do here is, I just go and say, okay, give me a horizontal container. Then I'll move this guy over here in that container, and then I'll drag the other person, this pie chart or whatever, discrete, something like this, here within this. And then I can resize it as I want. So this is something that we can do. And also, if you might have noticed that whenever I'm dragging something over to the dashboard, the color legends over here, they start showing up on the right side. So that's based on whichever field. I mean, if I go to this sheet here, and this is how you go to the sheet, okay, from the dashboard. So it's very simple. You can actually do this. You can do this, or you can see here, right click, and then go to sheet. Okay. And whenever we use any dashboard, any sheet onto the dashboard, you can see that it just gets selected, so that you can easily identify which dashboard you're on, and what is the view that you're seeing, and what are the sheets that you're seeing in that dashboard. So I can actually drag the heat map here. So if you want to remove anything, it's simply you just drag it out and then just put it somewhere. Okay, show something here. And there is something else that till Tableau 7 version, it was only tiled. So now you're also seeing something called floating. So what that means is, I can actually have these things floating. So I'll go here now. You can see. So if you see, just this one, generally for legends, it takes a lot of space. Even if it's a tile layout, then I'll have to put that in a particular format, and then it would generally take up a lot of space. It wouldn't, allow me to do something else, or it might be a little difficult for me to really plan the layout in such a way that this comes only over here, and then I am able to show something here, use this real estate here, and things like that. So I can actually make it. I can change that. What I can do. What I can do is I can make this as floating. Okay, and then the moment I make it floating, it will be available for me to actually move it around somewhere here. This belongs to wherever. This might not be the right place right now, and in this view that I have, but then it actually allows us. And then if you have a right kind of design dashboard, you can actually put this next to that, and or this one also. I can make it as a floating. Then I can drag this here somewhere, or here, because it belongs to this. So if you have space, and if you have a properly planned sheet, where you know that, okay, this part is something that I can utilize for the legends or any filters or any of that kind, so you can use this. This allows us to actually make a better use of the space that is available. And it all depends on how you want to design your dashboard. It may not be always properly fitted, so we have to really plan exactly where you want to put what, and then make sure that it blends into the report and dashboards. Okay, and then you have, that is about this thing over here. And then you have these again, horizontal and the vertical. I showed you how to use those in our reports. in the dashboard. So you can actually have these things, and you can include another if you want to have. Okay, I'll show you. So you have multiple things if you want to put. You can put this into this container, and then you can have this one coming in, and then you can have another. Lots of things here. This one coming here. Okay, based on the space you have and how you design it. You can actually have a lot of different things. Irrespective, you can have as many number of sheets you want to have based on what your report is. And but generally, it is something like when you're designing a dashboard, you shouldn't be actually cramping it with a lot of reports and a dashboard is generally at a high level. So I want to just by a small look, just a small glance at it, and I need to understand kind of what's happening. So that's generally the dashboard, how the dashboard should look. And but there are some cases when you want to put a lot of things into a dashboard, you can do that also. And if you want to add some borders and things like that, so you can just do that. Just select the layout container and then say format, and again you go just add the border to it, and then you can add this. It gives a lot of options for you to do a lot of different things here on the dashboard. So you can just highlight this, saying that okay, this is what is important. This section is pretty important. So you can highlight it if you want, and then you can format all your headers and titles and all, and also it provides us with a lot of different features here. Something like a text box. Okay, apart from your your sheets that you've designed and you're pulling them into your dashboard, you might want to show some. I mean, you might want to. There are some dashboards where what we do is, we build this dashboard, and sometimes it might need a little bit of explanation as to what a brief of about what this dashboard is. So all those things you could do here. If you just drag a, let me use a new one. So I can pull this, and then I might want to say what this sheet is all about. So I just put a small note that and this dashboard gives the sales versus profit scatter plot. Or any of these things, if you want to do, you can add texts here. Then you can add an image. If you want to add a logo somewhere here, you can actually do that. Then you can link a web page, and then you can blanks. When we have a tiled layout, generally what happens is you might want to put you might want to, there might be some space available, but then if you don't you might want to add a blank. I don't want the layout to come there, when this, the information thing that I gave here, then I don't want that to appear there. I just want it to be a little, almost here at the end, because I don't want that to be coming here. I want the users to go to that only if they want to read it, and I don't want it to disturb the view or whatever. So you can just put a blank here, and you don't have anything else to put, so you just put a blank here, and that takes care of that space. So it's a blank space basically. Wherever you want to use it for your, as per your convenience, you can use that. It gives this. This is about the sections that we just discussed. Okay, and now what I will show is, okay, here is another thing. Go to analysis. Then here there are a whole lot of things that you can set and check or uncheck and things like that. So here there is, if you have included this, see here, if depending upon what sheet it is, you can actually go ahead, and then if you have any shape legend in the report, you can either show that or you can decide not to show it. Because I might have, it might be a very, this might be a common thing that everybody knows in the organization. So we don't really have to call it out every time that this is blue is furniture or something like that. So it just purely on your, on the business requirement, you can actually show it or not to show it. So now you can show it. You can move this sketch. Whenever you're adding something new, it always comes and sits at the bottom. And then similarly, what you can do is, if you remember, we had created some parameters. So these parameters also you can actually call them here. You can say order size. I want my order size parameter to appear here. So in case if you are using this in your dashboard, in your sheet, then it would, you can just bring that dashboard here. So I just try to build a dashboard which we had created for the order size thing, the big order thing. Let me see this order size. Yeah, I can actually go and do this. Yeah, I mean, I know Ravi. I mean, there's something like ClickView. Actually, you can actually make it some similar to that. This is what you can. What I'm doing here is something which is a very plain dashboard. So you can actually do a lot of formatting on the dashboards, and you can make it look really, really nice. Like all the colors and things like that. So we will build something of that kind, and also, I mean, yeah, I mean, the two are basically different. Kind of reporting tools, ClickView and this is the way they want to the way I feel Tableau wants to put it across is like it's an easy drag and drop kind of a tool which generally even what they're doing is even the analysts basically even if they're not technical so they can actually go and start building the reports and creating those kind of things. So that is a kind of thing with Tableau, so it's the general ease of use kind of a thing. And also, yeah, with a little bit of work around, we can actually build some really cool dashboards with a lot of formatting on it. So we can build one through this probably session or next session something.
And towards the end, maybe can you give us some data set, and we can probably do some.
Yeah.
We can do try and see how we can pretty up or how we can get some good dashboard or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, we can do that actually. I mean, we could actually do it with the sample data set that arrives. I mean, if you see all these things I'm doing with the
Right,
sample,
I see that.
yeah, sample data set, we can use that. We can probably build a business case as to what dashboard we would want to build. Just
Okay.
just like.
But in that, the thing is, the data is already transformed, and you have all the good dimensions and facts that kind of laid out there, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So you're looking at something like where the data is unstructured.
Give us some sample spreadsheets actually, because I see the dashboard building thing is in two steps, right? I mean, the first step is transforming the data the way you need it and kind of get it there, and then second phase is actually building the dashboards actually for it. I mean, the sheets or dashboards.
Right. Yeah.
And can we see data model by any chance? Like, what is the data model underlying underneath?
No, I mean that's another thing about Tableau. I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't really want or it doesn't really need one to do a data modeling. So what it does is it's based on this it when you connect it to any data source like a flat file or a relation table, what it does is it identifies the measures and dimensions on its own, and it builds this. So for a data, when you say a data model, this is what for Tableau a data model is. It will build the dimensions for you, and it'll build the measures for you automatically. So it's more of it's more of an automated like a data model, you could say. I mean, so you don't really have to go and then define the dimensions or define the measures like in some.
So there is no way I knowing it whether my data model is kind of very good, or I mean, is it a kind of a star schema, or does it have any flakes, or how it affects the performance? I really don't know right now.
No, I mean, the thing with Tableau is when I'll just take an example of if you have a star schema. If you have a star schema, like what you would ideally do in a Tableau is you would connect to each of your data sources. I mean, tables separately
Right.
as different data sources, and then you can build your joins it will allow you to build your joins within Tableau. Or you can actually when connecting to your like your star schema and the different tables, Tableau can with the custom SQL, you can write the SQL which actually builds your thing, like all the joins. And if you're doing it at that level, then you would only see one data source here, which would be like your all the joins done, and then you have the one single source over here. Or else you could bring in all the sources here and then go and do a join. You can create edit relationships and then you can do a lot of joins here. So this is where you would actually go ahead and define that.
Okay.
So I mean, I know probably when you're doing it with a click view, I think you load all the tables first, and then you
right, and
you
load the tables and get you get to see the data model and then see how it is. Because most of the time, what happens is with all these kind of tools, I mean, people bring data from multiple sources. I mean, it could be Excel, it could be big data, or it could be anything actually. And then once you get it, they will, since you're getting only what you need actually from these sources, you probably have to do something to make sure the data model what you're having is probably right.
Yeah. So in that sense, I mean, this is you can actually do a lot of structure. I mean, when using Tableau. Yeah, that's the difference I feel. I mean, in ClickView or any other tool, like you'll have to build your universe, or if in case of ClickView, you get all the things in, and then you build your like a data model over there and the relationships, and then you can do that. But here it's something like you connect to it, and then you can do something like I'll probably cover that as it's a little advanced. So I would be covering it probably a little later, which is something called the data blending. Which Tableau allows us to join. Not join, so it also allow you to join. You can use this part here to actually go and define your joins, and also based on related columns, it will allow you to blend the data. So if you see orders, so it will just tell me what are the linking columns over here. So I can actually build get data from two different sources and then into my sheet, and then it will link on the fields that is available. So it will highlight those. So I can come up with a couple of examples, dashboards of that kind, and then I can show that to you.
Okay, that'll be great, actually.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure, but that's the thing about this. Look, you can actually have Tableau talking to like probably a Teradata or something, and for sales information, and then it might be actually talking to some map for a mapping document. You might be somebody might be just having it in a Excel. Like a store zone mapping or something of that kind, and then you have the sales of those stores in the data warehouse. So you can actually connect live to both these data sources, and then blend the data accordingly. So that you could do with it. You don't really have to like get the data into Tableau before actually building any dashboards and things like that. You can. So that's another thing.
Okay.
So what I would do is probably I'll just show there's another concept in Tableau called the actions, which are very important when we're working with dashboards. So I'll just show that today briefly, and then I'll try coming up with some nice looking dashboard for tomorrow, so that we can just build that. I would have it built, and then I will show it to you how to go over doing that kind of a dashboard, and then adding all the different features if you want to add the parameters and how to use those in our views and dashboards. About the data model thing, so if you're connecting to a model, I mean to a database or a multi-dimensional OLAP, and you have built your hierarchies and stuff, so it will automatically pick it up, so from your data source. But in case if you're not define the hierarchy, you can actually do it here. So this what you're seeing here is a hierarchy that was built within Tableau. So based on how you want to build the hierarchies, you can actually select the related. I mean the basically the dimensions, and then you can ask it to be grouped under a hierarchy. I can just choose this for example now, and I might not be the right columns, but I can actually create a hierarchy here for our reporting. what I'll do, today, as I said, I'll just go into these actions, which is, yeah. So what are actions? The actions are basically it adds context and interactivity to our data dashboards and data that we have. So basically, what it does is, there are three kinds of actions that you can create. One is a filter, the highlight, and the URL actions. So filter actions are basically used to create navigations or create a guided analysis kind of a dashboard that you have, or to navigate between a dashboard to another. So you can use the filter actions to create that, or even to have an interactivity within the dashboard amongst the different sheets that we have put in. So that's when filter action comes into play. I will just show that. And then what the highlight action means is, it is something like, when you create an highlight action on a dashboard on a particular sheet. So when you click on anything of a bar chart or something on a single bar, and then the related information in all the other sheets would get highlighted. It wouldn't get filtered, but it just gets highlighted. And also you can actually click on the color legend and then have the marks highlighted on the graph. So that's another action. And then you have something called the URL action, where you can actually provide a hyperlink that would take a user to it'll open a web page or some portal. It's something like, if you want to, if there is something of, you're showing these dashboards as to how your sales is and profits is and all those things. And if there is any, if a company has a separate portal where it actually goes and updates some information about something, so we can actually give once you see this dashboard, you can navigate to that portal elsewhere, which is elsewhere hosted elsewhere, and then you can go and do your updates there, that kind of a thing. And also, so that's what these URL actions and these actions are. So I'll just show you how to create filter action, and then I'll show you the interactions, how we can create interactive reports here. So now again, as I was saying, and I've just randomly picked graphs and sheets and then put it into this dashboard. It's a mashup. Might not be the right related ones here. So even if I create an interactivity, it may not be the right interactions that we would have to build. So when we're building this dashboard, that is something that also we have to keep in mind. That's why I was saying you would have to have all the related reports into one single dashboard, and then so that we can have the correct interactivity. So okay, now let me just start with the building a filter action. So it's very simple. You would see how easy it is to create an action. So one of the easiest things is, let's go here on this mark here. Just click, and then you see something called users filters. Just click this. Okay, and now just click on any of these bars here. Just say central, and you see that the whole of this dashboard has been filtered on the central region. So that's why I was saying, we should make sure that we have the right data on the dashboards so that it gets filtered on. See, even if, okay, now since everything is related here, I have all the information that's required. So you can see here, this heat map, it's got filtered onto central, and then even this text table here, that's only having the region which is central. Okay, and then even this tree map here is having only the central data. So that's as easy as it to create a filter action. So what has actually happened when we created that is something that I will show here. So this is the way to access all the actions on the dashboard. So you go here on the dashboard and check these actions. So you have this, I would say go edit. So it will tell you that on clicking which of the sheets. So this is basically source sheets. Okay, the source sheets. Where is it lying? It's in which dashboard. So I'm saying, since I'm on the sales dashboard, it's saying okay, sales dashboard. And then clicking on what chart, okay, and what's the target sheet. And since the target is also the same dashboard, I'm on the same dashboard here, so target would also be the sales dashboard. And what all do you want to be filtered? What sheets do you want to filter? Right now, since I use this option here of going and selecting this chart as users filter, it has it has created a filter on all the sheets that are available here. So I can actually go ahead and choose not to filter on some and but or to filter on all based on this. And also there is something like I mean when do you want the action to run on? So I have since it was a default, the select will be always the default. You can also change it to work on hover or on a menu. So when I say a menu, it is also it's always a right click or it would appear in the tooltip. Okay, so I would leave it like this. And I would actually uncheck this now. So what you would see here is the action that was created would have gone. Okay, and if you want to create the same action again, just go here. I'm creating a new action. So what I did, I added an action, a filter action. It tells me like what kind of actions do you want to create. And I say I want to create a filter action. You can name it. You can say filter on bar chart. I mean, it can be it could be probably some meaningful name that we can give based on what sheet it is or what chart it is. So for now, I'm just giving it as a bar chart. So I'll just select that bar chart. Okay. And then I might not want to filter everything. I just want to filter the heat map or the text table or the I just want to do the heat map thing. I just don't want to do anything else, probably the trend lines. So I'll leave it like this. And then you see here the actions. Now I will have to select that it has to be on select, which is on a click, mouse click. And then there's another one over here which says clearing the selection will leave the filter, show all or exclude all values. So let me keep this show all values for now. Say okay, this is the target filter again. I mean, this is you can actually filter it on all the fields. For example, now if I had central and I had some more dimensions here, and when you click on it, it would filter on all the fields that is available in this sheet. So I have sales and I have central and many things. So it will filter on all the fields. But I can actually say no, just filter on one of them. So I can just go ahead and say, okay, what do you want me to filter it on? Do that later. So now we'll just leave it like this. Say okay. So now you see it will only filter. It's only filtering this and I think trend line. Yeah. So and if I say east, no, it will show me only east and all those things. And if you see now, what I had done was, I had kept, what I mentioned was, selecting selecting it again would show me all the values. So if I select east again, it shows me all the values here. So I can change that actually. I can change that and can change this here. And I can say, okay, no, leave the filter there as it is. Clearing the selection will leave the filter. So I can say east here. When I click on east again, it's keeping that east. It's not removing the filter. It's not saying show me all the values. The only thing that I can do right now is just go into different region and then see the data for that region. And if you select here, also if I had all the say show me all the values, and when I remove the selection, it would show everything. Similarly, I can also say exclude all values. That's the opposite. So I'll show central, and then if I remove it, everything images goes off because I'm saying exclude all values, don't show anything. But generally, it is something like it all depends on what kind of interaction that we're building and things like that. So generally, we would keep it as show all values, so that on selection or removing the selection, everything else is shown. So this is a simple way of creating this action, and then so lots of things that we can do with actions. So now what we did was filtering and navigation or interaction within the same dashboard. What if I want to create I'll create another filter action, and when I click on the discrete, I want something else to happen. What I want to happen is I want to navigate another dashboard. Target, I'm selecting something else. No, I'll say dashboard 3. Okay, and I can say here, I can name that action as navigate to dashboard 3. So this is, I mean, I just click on it and it navigates, it takes me to this. But you will see, something happened here, because it's a filter action. When I navigated to this dashboard here, it carried over the context. If you see here, this is a row ID. So it's like it might be, it's a simply, we have each row in this discrete sheet here. So it is actually filtered that dashboard on this single column over here. Okay, so that in that way, what you can do is, we can build dashboards wherein you on the first dashboard you have just the summary, and then when you click on it, you take it to navigate into another dashboard, which will show the information filtered on whatever you wanted to view. Okay, so now because since we don't have such a flow built and things like that, so I don't want any filter to be happening on that. So what I can do is I can say don't apply anything on any of the dashboards. So I can go here. So I'm just navigating now. I'm not applying any filter. I'm just navigating, and then you can see that okay. So we can see that it's showing me all the values. Okay. So this is, and again, this is one thing with actions is that, I mean, unless and until you clear the selection, it will always be selected, and it will, even if you navigate it to another sheet, when you come back, it will always tell you what you had pressed to navigate. Okay. So this is about the filter actions. So these are two different things that you can. There are different things that you can do with actions too. These are two of the things. I can actually once we actually build some dashboard which is which is in a good flow and things like that. So I'll illustrate how to use these things. And again, I'll show another action which is a highlight action. So let me keep it on the heat map. So and I wanted to highlight on all the fields over here. Just name it. So you can see if I click here, what's happening is there's a highlight happening. But then since there is not much of related, see here, I can show you here. There's a slight change of color over here in the text. So that's got highlighted. And then since I don't have the region on this dashboard, this sheet here, there's nothing that's getting highlighted. Again, I have the region over here in this sheet, so that's getting highlighted. So what it does is wherever, again, it's the same point, the basics, like you will need to have related stuff on the dashboard for these actions to work, some of them to make sense actually. So if I create a highlight action, it would be generally to just to show me, so because I have a lot of things shown on the dashboard. So I just want to see the sales for South region highlighted. So I just click on that, and then whatever information is there for that southern region, it just shows up and blurs and fades the other ones down. So that's about this. So just highlight this. So since if we have all the related information nicely put on the dashboard, it looks good. So you can just see the highlights. And the final one over here is a URL action. I can actually go ahead and say, okay, go to, when I click on a heat map, take me to Google now, or it could be anything now. So I click here. No, sorry. What action did I create here? The heat map, sorry. I'll move it to the tree map. And if you see here, I've selected the menu. So I come here, you would see the hyperlink being shown in the tooltip. So I can either click that, or I can say a right click, and then you can see here the hyperlink gets added, the option to click that. So I click here. Okay, it's fine. So it takes me to Google. Okay. So that's the URL action basically. And let me just change this, action, the highlight action to on hover. So you can see is just in hovering. Remove this, so only that gets highlighted. So I've really used these and actually, I mean, it might help in some situations, where you want to, do a small place like a heat map over here, and you want to just take it over and then highlight all the other, not without having to click. So that's about this is just an introduction of basics of dashboards. This is and majorly that is it. And all the things that we further what we do is mostly like putting the right things in the dashboard, and then putting the right view together, the best practice, and then how to build a navigation. And then there's something called guidance analytics that you can do with this, wherein you guide the user uh, by showing the summary first, and then you can just drilling down, and then showing some more information, and then finally taking him to the granular details for him to actually go and analyze or inspect. So I will have dashboards, similar to something with those in those lines, and then and also you can navigate. I mean, as we did, navigate from one dashboard to another, and then how to build a navigation to come back. So you in Tableau actually you don't have a buttons. You cannot really have a button and say okay, go back. So we'll have to build that. It's simple, but then you'll have to build it. So I'll just show all those things, how to create those kind of navigations, and then flows, and all those in the next class. So I mean, this is just an introduction. So there's a lot to be done on the dashboard itself. So I mean, this was just what I created was just a mashup of just dragging some random sheets to illustrate what a dashboard is and how you can build that, and then and how it happened today. So let's do this. I mean, we'll catch up tomorrow and then start discussing some things, and then in the later half we'll just go into the detailed dashboarding and all the other topics.